Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches, and today I'm going to be talking about the energetic, if often rather silly, 1942 crime film Lady Gangster. The film introduces us to Dot Burton, the only female member of a gang of bank robbers. Using her femininity and a cute dog provided to her by her male cohorts, Dot is able to talk her way into a bank before the official opening time, leaving the front door unlocked and the bank guard helplessly holding her dog when the gang bursts in. The police prove surprisingly rapid in their response, however, and Dot is unable to flee before they arrive. Her efforts to talk her way out of the situation prove less effective than her blandishment of the security guard, and she soon finds herself a guest of the state. This is by no means the end of Dot's story, however. She is the only one who knows where the bank money is, and her former compatriots will stop at nothing to recover it. They maybe can't get at Dot while she's in the big house, but they can target those she cares about on the outside. And what can Dot do about it if they do? So Lady Gangster is the second film adaptation of the play Gangstress, or Women in Prison. It's a B-feature, produced on the cheap by Warner Brothers, though featuring a rather higher standard of performer than such fare often provided. Leading lady Faye Emerson would go on to a successful career on TV, primarily as a host or panellist, that would stretch into the early 1960s. And there's also a pre-fame Jackie Gleason hanging around in a supporting role. The play on which the film is based was written by Dorothy Mackay and Carlton Miles after Mackay spent 10 months in San Quentin prison for conspiracy felony. She was having an affair with the actor Paul Kelly and attempted to conceal the fact to protect Kelly when he was being prosecuted for assaulting her then husband Ray Raymond. Kelly also went to prison, serving 25 months for assault. So Lady Gangster is a movie with some interesting history behind it. But is it any good? Well, it's a brief and fun romp, albeit quite silly and implausible. Let's talk about some of its features. So Lady Gangster was produced during the era of the Motion Picture Production Code, commonly known as the Hays Code, which was a fairly draconian list of prohibitions and restrictions as what was appropriate to be shown in a motion picture. Among many other things, the code forbade a motion picture to show any sort of ridicule towards a law or for creating sympathy for its violation. Further, all criminal action had to be punished, and neither the crime nor the criminal could elicit sympathy from the audience. But at the very least, it must be made clear to the audience that such behaviour is wrong. The code's grip on US cinema began to slip in the mid to late 40s. By the time this movie came out, it was still being pretty strongly enforced. The Howard Hughes film The Outlaw was denied release for 5 years because it was felt that the advertising campaign focused too much on Jane Russell's bosom. So as a movie where the main character is a criminal, Lady Gangster either has to play its story as a pretty straightforward redemption arc where she learns the error of her ways and becomes a moral, law-abiding person, or it has to be a bit clever and try to sneak as much past the code's enforcers as it can. And it chooses the latter option. This is not to say there is no redemptive arc, because there is one, but beyond the obvious bad girl goes good motif, when it comes to Dot's methods for protecting her loved ones, the film plays fast and loose with the neither the crime nor the criminal should elicit sympathy requirement, because Dot definitely breaks a law or two in her effort to keep those she cares about safe. Now, Dorothy Mackay may have drawn on real-life experience to write her play, but any authenticity she may have brought to the tale has been merrily jettisoned for the purposes of this film. For instance, Lady Gangster's opening heist is a deeply improbable one. The gang's plan to get into the bank before it opens and rob the place relies an awful lot on luck and Dot's charm. And that's not to say it's a bad or not enjoyable sequence. Faye Emerson sells it quite well, in fact. It's quite a fun, if silly, opening. Once the film reaches the prison sequences, its plausibility, which was already slight, is thrown completely out of the window, with a gleeful excess of bickering and double crosses, a rather random diversion into cross-dressing, and a deliriously absurd prison break. Grounded realism is not a factor in this film's plotting. Now, as I've already mentioned, Lady Gangster does include a bad girl turns good redemptive arc. Hollywood's rules of the time would deny Dot a happy resolution without it. The arc is grounded very firmly in that old chestnut, the power of love. It is through her renewed romance with her childhood sweetheart Ken Phillips, who is of course an upstanding, law-abiding man of firm principles, that Dot finds herself setting out on her rather unconventional and haphazard path to redemption. Now, this is a fairly hackneyed motif, of course, but when you've got to pack this many shenanigans into a mere 62 minutes, its very familiarity was probably a selling point. Audiences will immediately grasp the principle and follow it with ease. Ultimately, Lady Gangster is a pretty silly bit of 40s crime caper nonsense, but it's a harmless and occasionally amusing one. If you have an hour to kill, it's not without its low-key charm, and it can be freely viewed on the Internet Archive. So that's Lady Gangster. Next time, Sergio Leone's final Western film, the 1968 offering Once Upon a Time in the West. But that's next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.